How's it going, guys and gals? This is Elder of Woe coming back at you. I just wanted to kind of go over class creation or character creation in Diablo 4. And so as you can see, I chose the source, and I'm going to go ahead and just pick a default, and then from there I'm just going to modify. So there are a good amount of options as far as what they have as presets. However, once you get into the customization, it's a little limited. So as you can see, there's only 4 face variations. I'm hoping that they're gonna add a lot more once it launches, or as something that I can potentially get. You know, I just love being able to kind of make my character as personalized as possible. They have a good amount of skin tones, a good amount of eye colors, and so I think it's pretty awesome. But as we continue, you see me just kind of flipping through these different variations. Couldn't really decide which one to go with. But then I saw, you know, the faces are all the same, so it doesn't really make that big of a difference. And then hairstyles, again, they really do need to add some more hairstyles. And a couple of them they do need to modify, like that one that's supposed to be real short curly hair. It looks almost like you're balding. So they really need to fix that, in my personal opinion. They have a good amount of facial hairs, but facial hair is literally just your eyebrows. At least on female characters, and I understand, you know, that should be the primary thing, but they do need more options, because like a lot of them are very thin or too bushy, or you know, they do need more options as far as the eyebrows go. Hair color, though, they have a really good amount of hair colors, and they all look pretty good. You'll see me click through a couple of the ones that I wanted to kind of see how they looked. And I think I end up going with a bluish color. Yeah, black and teal is what I think I end up going with. Or no, Blue Storm, yeah. I like that one. Now, you gotta remember, it doesn't always look exactly the same, so keep in mind, you know, the lighting's gonna affect how it looks. And so then makeup, it's primarily just basic makeup. I do wish they had more variety for the basic makeup. Like the very last 2 options are the ones that I like the most, and of course the plain faced one. But the last 2 are kind of very basic, you know, eyeshadow and lipstick or gloss, and then jewelry. It's primarily just, you know, like earrings and nose rings. I don't know if maybe they can add other stuff, maybe like eyebrow rings or something. You know, just different. I think they might even have eyebrow rings. Either way, though, it's not a whole ton of options there. And same thing for markings. It's about 6 pages. And the tattoos are kind of cool. Some of the other ones are kind of cool, but some of them look very unartistic. They look very childish, like somebody just scribbled, and I don't think that looks very good. The colors are good. You know, they have the traditional black or white. They have blues and different colors like that. They have one that's color blood, and it's really cool looking. As you'll see, I'll take a look at most of that stuff. I end up being very particular about this sort of thing, so as you can see, I'm always very particular when I create my characters. I have a specific aesthetic I aim for, I guess you would say. Seeing those specific earrings kind of reminded me of the original source from D2, so I really like that. And then I kind of went over the markings and just kind of looked for one that made the character look, a bit more powerful. In my personal opinion, I like this one. It's really cool. You can zoom out so that way you can see the whole thing. Then of course you can change the ink colors, so change it to a white, blues, purples. Purple mana is pretty cool looking too. My personal favorites are blood, the regular ink, and then the purple mana. Henna's kind of cool too. Kind of a faded out red or maroon color. Scarring one looks okay, but I don't think any of the designs really look all that great with the scarring color, personally. You can see some of these are really cool looking, some of the designs are really nice. I really like that design specifically because of the ones the tattoos that are on the wrists area, wrist and forearms. Alright guys and gals, I want to get into talking about some of my general concerns about the game and my overall takeaway from the early access beta. Now, with that said, as it's been said before, we have no idea, what portion of development this beta came from. They could be miles and leagues ahead, or this actually could be what the state of the game and currently. If that's the case, then there are some major concerns. One of them being itemization. Legendaries don't feel quite special because they drop way too often for starters. So that goes to drop rate, and we can talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But in general, they don't feel super duper special, and I get they're supposed to be kind of transitional equipment from base rares to higher. That's fine. However, I do still feel that there's room for improvement. Now, with that said, of course, we're only hitting level 25, so there might be an even much vaster set of legendary prefixes / affixes that will be available on launch, and that's completely fine. But there are some things about items that do bother me. So, for instance, some things that are super specific, like an item that you get for Sork or Barb or your Rogue. There's a reduction, but it's a reduction based off, so it'll be like Fury used reduced or mana used reduced, and I believe this should just be combined into resource reduction and not be so specific. That way items can actually be utilized by other characters if you choose to use them to level up, whatever the case might be. The plus skills is perfection. It reminds me of D2. It's beautiful to have plus the skills and be able to kind of play with things and have utility in the sense that you can get skills that you don't have, you haven't spec'd into, so that way you can use them for other benefits. But on the same token, because we get all those plus skills, we have access to all these extra skills, but we only have one skill bar. And this doesn't make sense to me. And I understand that it might be to simplify so that way it can be played on the console, but I still believe that you can easily have an alternate bar, at least a secondary bar. You know, use one of the bumper keys or whatever on the control to switch over to it when you press a button, so that way you can have access to at least a second set of skills. This 100% needs to be done. There's no reason in this day and age for us to have such a small limitation on the amount of skills that we're able to use. Another itemization thing that I'd like to bring up is the items themselves. They're beautiful, they're wonderful, but they do not have anything that generally like feels good about them. They just feel like generic stat boosts of defense, and defense only, really, and that really bugs me. Defense or offense, but it just really bugs me. Yes, they have cooldown reduction and so forth and so on, and maybe in end game it'll be, you know, you'll be more focused on that specifically, but also it just feels very, very, very generic and kind of hollow, like you're picking up cardboard, and that makes me sad because I love itemization, and the only game that's ever done it really, really well, which, you know, or actually the games that have done it real, real well, of course, is Diablo 2, and Path of Exile has been doing a great job with their itemization. So I think the devs need to really take a look at the overall picture and kind of maybe do a little bit of reworking here and there. I'm not saying the itemization is complete trash. It's not, but it does need work. We talked about, I think we talked about skill depth. Map overlay is the next topic. And so this one is just simple. Why do we not have a map that can overlay while we're playing? When I open up the map, I should be able to have one that is transparent or transparent enough, or that I can at least see the outline of the terrain and follow it without just looking up to the side of my screen. I should be able to have it overlaid on top while I play. And this needs to be done. This is not a could it be done. This needs to be done. This is something that's super simple. They should be able to do it without any issues. Now we go back to drop rates, like I was talking about. So legendaries, way too many, way too early in the game. Rares are okay. There might be a little too many early on. They might need to reduce the drop rate as well. Outside of that, they should. Smart loot's fine, but maybe make it a little more stupid, in my personal opinion, so that way you can get items that generally can be used with other characters. So I can farm, you know, I can farm my Sork for my Barb or my Druid or my Necro. A lot of the items feel so, like I said, about like the resource reductions, they feel so pigeonholed towards that class that the item has very little benefit outside of maybe the armor and maybe the stats. So it feels very bad when you got to restart or you want to play a new character and you don't have any gear for that character. It's terrible. One of the funnest things in Diablo 2 or even Path of Exile is getting those items and being able to be like, okay, so this is going to be the next build that I play. This is what I want to do with this, and this goes with this, and so forth and so on. It's so enjoyable, and we really need to have that feeling. Dungeon layout, something that's been discussed by pretty much everybody. It needs to be much better. Right now, it's very linear, which, you know, I understand that, you know, they're trying to make it so we can run them fast. But at the same time, they're slowing us down by making the objectives kind of dumb because you're running off to one corner or the other. Now there are ways to fix this. So in the sense of, let's say you had a shape of, you know, you have one path and then it splits off 3 ways. Now one of the ways they can make this a lot easier or a lot less annoying for backtracking is you go down a path, you get to the end, it has a teleportation device of some type, and it brings you back to where the pedestal is, instead of having to run back through completely empty space, through an area you've already cleared. Doesn't make any sense. Now, unless they're going to make it to where, you know, some extra monsters start coming out or respawning or something. Something that'll make it either difficult to get past or worth going through. They should make it a lot more fluid to get back to the pedestal or the area that you need to. Now, this can be done at each one of the areas, so that way you can get back, you place the item, you move on with your dungeon. I would hate for the game to come out and not be up to the level it should be after the amount of development that's been put into this game. It would make me very sad. And then as far as objectives inside of the dungeons, a lot of people have spoke about this. There's one of them that you literally have to kill everything in the dungeon, and this makes absolutely no sense. There are going to be times where you're running through, you're killing trash, and one monster is going to be off in a corner somewhere, you know, just by himself doing nothing, ignoring you, and you're not going to see that monster. You're going to move past them, and then you're going to have to backtrack all the way and find that monster, and it's terrible. It's already been shown that they can show the monsters on the map, and you know that's fine and all, but again, you know, make it like 80% clear. You can move on to the boss. Obviously, the pillar things, you know, where you have to drag items, I already stated. They could use teleports. They could use there's all sorts of ways they could fix this issue and make it much more smooth while playing through the dungeon. I'd also like to see more options as far as objectives go inside of the dungeons. I do love the fact that events can happen inside of the dungeons as well. That's really cool. But I would like to see maybe puzzles or, you know, something else that's interesting. Now, I did see/hear about people messing with traps, and the traps were super damaging, and that is absolutely concerning. Especially for people that are going to be playing hardcore. If you can get taken out by a trap, it's super bad. It should not be something that should be done. And let's move on to our next topic, which we're going to talk about emote quests. Now, this is a bit of a nitpick, but at the same time, it's something that let's say you're into RP. You're really into RP, or you're RPing when you're streaming, or you're just RPing with your friends, or you want your character to feel like your character. Some of these emote quests are going to break RP dramatically, because what if your character, you don't want to be somebody that has faith in whatever god or this or that or the other or deity, and they tell you to pray to a statue or this, or and it's super, they're super easy quests, but at the same time it doesn't seem like you have choices, and that really bothers me. So it makes it feel like not your character, because you're not playing the way that you want to play. You're not playing and making the choices that you'd like to make. For sure, from this, let's transition over to another little nitpick. Font and color. Color, I guess, is okay. Maybe make it a little bit darker, the yellow and whatnot for the rares. They seem a little out of place when they drop. But the font definitely needs to change. Change it to the font that's being used in the actual item itself, or whatever the case might be. It looks so dumb when it drops. The item names look so ridiculous when they drop. And so that 100% that needs to be fixed, along with the UI. The UI looks so cheap. I would take the Diablo 2 Resurrected UI over the UI that's in D4 right now, as far as the character UI. It is very, very sad at this day and age that they would take a UI that looks so similar to Diablo Immortal. Now, it can be completely opposite. Maybe they took the D4 UI and put it into Diablo Immortal. That's totally a possibility. However, it's just ridiculous in general. They need to work on this. It needs to be fixed, and it should be fixed before launch. One of the questions that I personally have, though, outside of these other thoughts, is what about mercenaries? I haven't really seen too much about mercenaries, and if I do a little research, let's see, mercenaries, D4 mercenaries, highly unlikely for the release day. So they didn't include mercenaries. So the mercenaries, as they were called in D2, are followers in D3. Or in a 2019 game, for feature allows players to use gold to hire, so forth and so on. Mercenaries that followers can be given equipment. So from what I read, it's not a feature that's in the system. It's not a system that's in the game yet. But it's a system that should be in the game. It's connected to Diablo. This is something that should always, should have been one of the things that was worked into the game, whether it's in the manner of D2 or D3, fully being able to fully equip, a companion character, because not a lot of us are going to want to play with other people. There's a fair amount of us that would even take a single player version of D4 and like to just play by ourselves. I know that's not going to happen, but case in point, there's maybe, you're playing a barb. You know how awesome it would have been to have a mercenary to have some CC and support for you, heals and CC to kind of manage the packs while you're trying to kill everything. Or having as a sort, having a mercenary that will go out there and be on the front lines and hold them off while you're casting your spells and regaining your mana and all that good stuff. So that system needs to be worked on 100%. One of the other systems that's not going to be added in, that they removed, of course, is the rune system. I can only hope that they go in a proper direction with the rune system. Go for rune words. I know they were trying to go for a more of a effect, cause and effect kind of thing. So when this happens, so forth and so on, which is fine, and it should be a system in the game, but not using the runes. The runes should be used in a manner of gem slots. So if they do something specific, that's fine, like gems do, rubies, so forth and so on. But also in the form of rune words. And I don't care if they make them super, super, super rare, which would be fine. Make them super, super, super rare. Make the outcome super, super rare, and make it to where the rune words are super, super good. So these can potentially be endgame items if they're that rare. And I mean, I'm talking rare. I mean, if you've ever played D2 and you've hunted for runes, you know how hard it is to come across certain runes. That's why a lot of trading is done. Speaking of trading, so I'm okay with account bound items to an extent, but it seems like they're making it very stifling to try and trade items, and they're pushing a social aspect at the same time. They're trying to push the social aspect while you're playing, but also not push it because trading seems so awkward and clunky, and it's just ugly, and they 100% need to fix this. I don't care in what way. Make it to where you can list items and people can buy them from you in some sort of manner of, it doesn't need to be an auction house, but maybe like a bazaar or some sort of system. These are my primary concerns and things that I have questions about, and my feelings about the beta. And me personally, I would probably give the beta right now between a 6 and a 7. I'd probably aim closer to a 7, but it still has room to go and grow, and it I believe it should be and could be a 9 on release. Now, the devs have to look into all of this, but I definitely think they can do it. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit that like, hit that sub. And until next time, guys and gals, this is Elder Bro saying, over and out.